one time. And a bunch of journalists were talking to him and said, hey, is it true that at the University of Alabama you took underwater basket weaving as your major? And Joe Namath didn't miss a beat and looked at him and said, nah, man, I took journalism. It was easier. Now, what I have to say, though, is our guest speaker tonight does not have a degree in journalism. He is actually a college graduate. He has a degree from the University of Arizona in political science, but that goes to show how bright he is, because he lived in Tucson. He was working for the Arizona Star and moved to Cleveland in 1984 and has been here ever since. Now, we're grateful for that, but I'm not sure how smart a move that was. That being said, he came here as a copy editor, and he's worked in various areas of the news division, including the day editor of the news division, which is a very important job. And he joined the editorial board in 1993. He's the deputy editorial page editor today. And he writes a column on Wednesdays, but he's the guy that puts together the forum section, and he has kind of complete control over that. So if you want to praise him, tonight's a good time to do it. If you want to scream at him for some of the cartoons that he allows to show up there, tonight's a good time for that too. Anyway, he lives in North Olmsted. He has 5 children, and because he likes to yell at people once in a while himself, he's a soccer referee. So we are really grateful and honored that Kevin O'Brien is here tonight. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you very much. That was really good. I think we should just stop here. Well, thanks for having me. It's always fun to be out here. It's more fun today than it was last time because it was an absolute stone blizzard outside the last time I was here. And somebody was reminding me that we think that was January 2012, right around Inauguration Day. And I was told that I cheered you guys up, so probably make up for that tonight. During the previous presentation, I was sitting there thinking that, yeah, regressive taxes are a problem, but they're not going to be a problem for long because we're all going to be poor really soon. Yeah. And then, we'll all be in the same boat. I looked at the website. I don't know how he was asking how many people have been to the website. Like I was there this afternoon, which is how I know what I'm supposed to talk about. We really didn't talk about that before. And that's okay. I'm fast on my feet, so that's all right. But tonight is sort of plain dealer night. And Northeast Ohio Media Group to an extent. And I'm going to explain to you what we've done. I'm going to explain to you the rationale behind it, because almost no one outside the organization, and quite a few people inside the organization, don't understand. So we'll go over that a little bit, and then we can talk about whatever you guys like to talk about. This is a great group for question and answer stuff and discussion stuff. So I know better than to try to come in here and talk for 40 minutes, because that's not what you guys want, and I don't blame you. Anyway, so some things about the Plain Dealer, where we are right now, what we're doing, what we're trying to do, some of which I think is not going to work, and I'll be upfront with you on that, because nobody's ever going to watch this thing on YouTube.
We'll email the link to.
What's that?
We'll email the link to.
Okay, I'll destroy it as soon as
I'll send out a press release.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So here's the deal. The Plain Dealer basically split in two, or maybe 3, depending on how you count, during the summer, last summer. My own situation now is that I work in a place that's called the Pub Hub, which is, I still work with newspaper, real, ink on paper stuff. Which I didn't know that I was really going to be doing. I hadn't really planned on doing that. I thought that I was going to go to the electronic side with the rest of the members of the editorial board when this was all under construction. And then one bright day in the middle of an editorial board meeting where we were talking about how we were going to accomplish this changeover as the board went to the electronic side, but was still going to have its material, obviously, appearing in the paper side, I said, one of the people in this room is going to have to be on the paper side, because it's not all magically going to fit every day. We have, I mean, online, you don't have to worry about where things fit or whether they fit together. That just isn't a problem. You may have to worry about using up bandwidth or something like that, which isn't a problem for me, but you have to, on the paper side, you have to make it look nice, and things have to fit together. So that means this editorial can only be this long, and this editorial can only be that long, and all the lines have to line up, and sometimes you have to change wording to make that happen. So we had to have someone on the paper side who had the authority and the power as a member of the editorial board, and presumably one of the two senior people on the editorial board, to actually make sort of command decisions on the fly and say, okay, well, this word is coming out, or it's changing to that, because we have to make it fit in the paper. So out of such a simple thing as, I mean, that really is form over substance, I recognize that, but form matters. So out of that simple calculation came a big job switch for me, which has been very good. I really, really like what I'm doing now. Things that I like about it include, as you mentioned, I've got a lot of control over content on the paper side right now. Basically, I work for me, which is kind of fun. I'm not really sure who my boss is, and I haven't stepped in it big enough yet to find out. Presumably, I will learn on some day when I do something really wrong, and somebody will come and yell at me, and I'll know that's the person. But it hasn't happened yet, and with any luck, I'll string this out for a little longer before it does. That's a fun thing. The control part of it is fun, the content control stuff. I will be perfectly honest with you. I am the Cuyahoga River separates me now from the rest of the editorial board, whereas it used to just be like hemispheres of the earth or something separating me from the editorial board. But that was sort of figurative. Now it's literal. It's much more comfortable this way. I don't miss the editorial board meetings because, as you know from my previous meanderings here, it was me on one side and them on the other, ideologically. And that got old. And as people retired, as we lost John Clark and Jim Strang, who were, a staunch conservative and a staunch libertarian, it just got much harder to go to those meetings every day. And either pick my battles or, race headlong into jousting into the windmill, That part was not enjoyable. Now, if you notice on Saturdays, if you still get the Saturday paper, and God bless you if you do, we've begun doing something fairly regularly that's called an editorial board roundtable. I love this feature because it gives readers a chance to really get in the heads of individual editorial board members. Editorials are unsigned for good reasons. In our paper and in most other papers that approach this in the traditional way. Because it's the voice of the institution. The editorial speaks for the paper itself, and mostly is supposed to reflect the views of the publisher. If the publisher decides to Bigfoot an editorial, he or she has the power and the authority to do that, and that's fine. It's been that way since Ben Franklin was putting lead type on a press. But the publisher isn't doing the writing. So you don't really get into the minds of the people who actually do the writing. And with this editorial board roundtable, it's a healthy thing because it really lets people express their own views, and you can get an idea of which views influence the editorial that results, or that maybe you saw earlier in the week. We don't necessarily always run the roundtable before the editorial appears. That's the goal, but it doesn't always happen that way. So it gives you a chance to read what mental work on the part of each editorial board member went into crafting an editorial, went into figuring out what the paper's position was going to be. And you get a fair divergence of opinion sometimes, or you'll get different emphasis on the parts of the problem so that you can see who thought what was important. So I think that's a cool feature. I'll get an email every now and then from one of our alumni, now retired, who will say something like, wow, I read the roundtable today, so-and-so is just off his rocker, or something like that. I don't have a problem with that, you know. If you perceive somebody is off their rocker, I think that gives you an insight into the total, intellectual product. Not a bad thing, not a bad thing. People think I'm off my rocker, I don't care, that's fine. They're allowed. But it gives you a chance to sort of get, acquainted with individual members of the editorial board. And, it's like, I've always said, editorials are like movie reviews. You can read an editorial page that you disagree with vehemently day after day after day after day after day. And you still learn something from it because you consider the source, you consider what they thought was important, and then you make up your own mind according to what you know or what you've heard or what you think, what you've learned. And it's just like if Clint O'Connor pans a movie and you never agree with anything Clint O'Connor writes about a movie, you're going to want to go see the movie and you'll probably like it. Read editorials the same way. What bothers me is people who will read them and get upset and say, oh, I'll never read this rag again, because they don't recognize the value of seeing what someone on the other side of the ideological fence thinks. And the nice thing about the newspaper or the internet product that we have is if you don't like it, you don't even have to finish it. You can just go ahead and line the bird cage with it right away and let the bird deal with it. The bird knows what to do. So that's my happy story. I get to do lots of stuff that's fun and creative, and I work with people that I really like in the pub hub. It's the last bastion of where copy editing takes place, and good layout for newspapers. And it's the old craft, and it's what I came in with and what I thought I wanted to do for the rest of my career. And if I can stretch this another 9 or 10 years, maybe I'll be right. I don't know that that'll happen, which leads me to sort of why we're here and where we're going. The Newhouse family, which owns the Plain Dealer and a whole slew of smaller newspapers and 5 or 6 big ones across the country, has decided that they really want to be the leader at the cutting edge of the new electronic-based journalism. And I get emails, and I hear people say all the time, well, is the Plain Dealer saving any money by doing what it's doing and not having home delivery several days a week and doing all this electronic stuff? And that is not the point. That is explicitly not what they're out to do. Saving money is probably a byproduct of that, because you're printing less ink on less paper, and those are huge fixed costs. But you've also got a press plant that we built really not all that long ago that you've got to amortize. We have split the staff into different locations, so you're paying for buildings in addition to the one that we built not that long ago to house the Plain Dealer staff as a whole. So you've got that expense. This is not about money. This is about trying to do journalism a different way than it's been done before and to beat everybody else to the punch. To do it as right as it can be done in this sort of experimental phase that we're all in, and to get there first. Do I think it's going to work? I got serious doubts. But that's not my job. It is not, no one asked me. If they'd asked me, I would have told them, yeah, I'm not real sure about this. But you know what? It's your money, Mr. Newhouse. And if you choose to do it that way, I will do my very best to make it work, because that's my job. So it's not about money. It's a different strategy for doing journalism. Yes, it necessitates cutting the paper down, home delivery, to fewer days a week. But when I look at what it's done for the opinion section, I turn right around and I become a cheerleader, because we have many more pages than we've ever had before throughout the course of a week. It used to be that we would have 12 or 13 pages a week when we delivered to the homes every day. We would have a nice big Sunday section of 6 pages, and then we would have a daily page each of the other 6 days, so 12 pages. Now we have home delivery, we have 20 pages a week, 21 pages a week. And, and then we have the 3 days a week when we don't home deliver, but we still have an opinion page that you can get online, or that you can get by the IPD product by email. So we have a lot more room than we used to have. Because of that, and because the conservative is running the page, we have a lot more balance than we used to have. It wasn't that we didn't buy conservative syndicated columns before. We have not changed a thing about the columns that we buy, what we subscribe to. But we've just got more acreage to fill. And we can fill it with a lot more ability to package things. Now, if I can have Krugman and Krauthammer write on the same day on the same subject and put them on the same page, to me, that's serving the reading public. If you read it, most of you guys, or all of you, are probably fairly conservative in here. Krugman is still going to piss you off.
Oh, yeah.
Why? Because he's wrong about everything. That's where your bird comes in, all right? Because there are people out there who want to read him. And in Cleveland, there are a lot of people out there who want to read him, and they think he's right about everything. And you know what? I'm okay with that. It's not up to me to make that value judgment on their behalf and keep him out of the paper somehow. And that's one of the other things that sort of rankles me about some of the reactions that I get from conservative people. Why do you run Krugman? Why do you not run Thomas Sowell? Why do you not run? You pick them. Well, I think the people that we run are probably about right for this circulation area that we serve. And frankly, at this point, that's my call. We've got a couple of people that I was just going over the syndicated list today. We've got a couple of people that I'm probably not ever going to run, and we'll get rid of them. And you wouldn't recognize their names probably because they're not big names. They're fairly small syndicated columnists who work at fairly small papers and make a couple of bucks on the side by syndicating. We're just not using them at this point. So I'm going to save 17 or 18 bucks a week for the paper by just not using them anymore. And maybe we'll pick up somebody else. I don't know. Maybe we won't. I'll just decide that when the time comes. But I think right now what we're doing is we're giving people pretty good balance. We're giving people a good range of opinion. We're doing something different with the back page of the section on the home delivery days. That some days it works, some days it doesn't. It's still a work in progress, but it's basically visual opinion. Or a kind of a visual, more in-depth look at news that isn't necessarily opinion-ish, but what I'll do is I'll select a few of these photos that come from some trouble spot or something that's going on somewhere, and I'll write a little copy block that is opinion. And it's sort of like an extra little editorial in the paper. It doesn't run on the editorial page. It's not marked as one. It's just a little word of explanation about why I thought this particular thing was important. When it works, it's really good. When it doesn't, it was a good try. I want to think we'll get better at that as time goes by. I want to think that even if it's not great opinion, that at least it's an interesting set of photos that you would have missed because there's no room for them in the news section. I really want to make a go of this because it's the only paper in the country that's doing anything like this. And when I was deciding whether to try this job or not, Chris Quinn, who is the guy who runs the Northeast Ohio Media Group content, who really wanted me to go over there with them, came to me and he said, "This is going to be really hard to do. You're going to hate it at the beginning because it's going to be so much work. But if you do it right, you're going to be on speaker circuit all over the place because no one else has done this right yet." I like to think we're right on the cusp of doing it right. But I don't know. Only time will tell. And the other thing is going to be how long will a company that's really bent on electronic journalism and really trying to push that stick with the printed product at all? I'm sure that every time I've been here, I've been asked, are newspapers going away? Because every time I go anywhere, I get asked that. And I will reiterate emphatically, yes, the printed product will eventually go away. The technology and the production values drive that. It can't go any other way. Because any businessman worth his salt who can make you buy the means of production and distribution by purchasing a computer or something, a tablet or something like that, understands he's going to be money ahead. He can reduce his fixed costs, he can reduce his overhead, he can make you pay some more of the freight, and you will be happy to do it because whatever you're viewing this on will be flexible enough that you'll be able to use it for other things. It's obviously the way to go. You're not all going to go out and buy a printing plant. And that printing plant eventually, I think, it'll be converted to use for other things. We print other things there now. And we'll do more of that in the future because it's still going to make money in its own way. But I think the Newhouses are really committed to this electronic journalism thing. And my guess is that the Plain Dealer has a fairly finite number of years left to be printed on paper. So I know that is not good news for most of the folks in this room. Because I can tell by looking at you, you're the kind of people who like to hold the paper in your hand, take it to the John, do whatever it is you're going to do, and have that tangible thing in your hands.
What am I going to light fires with?
Well, I would not use your iPad. Maybe there'll be an app on the iPad soon that you can light a fire with. Would not be at all surprised.
Need a bigger battery pack.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could spring for that.
I'd probably.
You guys are rich Republicans. You can do stuff.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about regressive taxes yet.
Getting poorer every day.
Yeah, I understand. So that I think in a nutshell is the story of where we are and where I think we're going at the Plain Dealer. And there's a lot I don't know about what happens over at Northeast Ohio Media Group. It is a very separate operation, and even though I sort of had a foot in both camps, I'm way less plugged in there than I am at the paper side. If you've got questions about that, we can go through those and then talk about whatever. She beat you. You wait. Mr. Big Shot.
I read the Plain Dealer in print when I get it. I have since I was 15 years old. But, so are you saying online when I read it, I should also go to Cleveland.com to read the rest of the news? I mean, how does that work? What are you talking about?
Good question, yeah.
Extra space.
Okay.
And is he concerned with where
On the opinion side, you actually get more in the paper. Well, I'm not going to say that. That would not be accurate. You may get different things in the paper than you would get online. The way material comes to me is anything that comes through, anything that's staff produced or produced from within our circulation area by local people who write. So letters to the editor, locally produced opinion, op-ed pieces, that sort of thing. All of that goes through NEOMG first. And it gets put on Cleveland.com first. And then I get to look at it and I choose what from that I'm going to use, and I don't use everything. I would guess at this point we're using 80% probably of the letters to the editor that get posted on Cleveland.com. And probably a little less than that, maybe 60 to 75% of the opinion, the op-ed style stuff, the longer pieces. What you don't get on Cleveland.com is the syndicated stuff. So if you want to use the Plain Dealer to read Krugman, Vic Krugman reader?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Don't look at me like that. It's going to hurt me. If you want to read the syndicated stuff, that's in the paper. It does not go up on Cleveland.com, and there are syndicated writers who we are prohibited even from putting up online. Not all, but some. So we don't do any, as far as I know. So you get the national guys in the paper, you get the local guys online, and then you get some overlap where some of the local things, or a lot of the local things, will go in the paper, but not all.
who's all in this group? Is the Sun paper in this?
Yes. I sit right across the desk from the two guys who are in charge of producing all of the Sun newspapers.
So I was trying to understand how when I used to want to put in things for our church, and they would find a place somewhere in the Sun paper,
Mhm.
stick it in.
They'll still do that.
Not unless you pay for it.
Right.
And it's got to be.
Paying for it's a good thing.
I can't believe that not-for-profit events need to be charged for,
Mhm.
unless I put it out there online myself,
Mhm.
which they showed me told me how to do. I was surprised that in the print section of the Sun paper, you didn't pay for that.
Well, there's some papers about
It's-
4 pages.
Yeah, that's,
Nothing in
it's
it.
getting to be so small, $71.
The police blotter.
Right, the police blotter is a huge thing.
When it's
Fourth
shrinking.
page is embedded somewhere inside. Anyway.
Yeah, the rules
So
change.
they are combined then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, in the place where I work, the Sun papers are produced also.
I didn't.
But, and all of that stuff is online also. And it's the same regimen. The people where I work get all of the material from essentially Cleveland.com. It all goes through them first. They coordinate it, they do the writing, they do the initial editing, they send it to us, we go through it again, and we make it, we expand or contract to make it fit, edit it again, put headlines on it, and it goes out with the paper.
Thank you.
Are you saying that you could go on Cleveland.com and read all that stuff without being a subscriber to the plain dealer?
Without.
So why in the world would I ever spend the money if the plain dealer is only online?
Well, I have always said that eventually, now see, that this is not where the new houses want to go. They explicitly do not want to charge for content. I cannot imagine that eventually we don't get to the day where everybody's charging for content. Because otherwise, there's not going to be a way to stay in business. They want to use the old advertising method where we're going to sell ads online, and we're going to make enough money to support the product and give the content away to anybody who wants it for free. This is one of the areas where I got a part company with them. I've never seen that as a viable way to manage the future of news gathering and news dissemination. I don't think, I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think that's going to work.
Did the cost cutting include firing all the copy readers?
No,
Because
still
there
have.
are more typos and whatever.
Well,
Unbelievable.
They're journalism students.
in the beginning, it was pretty bad. And in the beginning, it was bad because we were all trying to learn how to use a brand new software system. No one knew. And so there was no one you could go and say, hey, such and such happened. How do I fix that? You figured it out yourself, pretty much, because there were only 4 or 5 people who were really, really trained to use the system, and they could only be in one place at once. So there was a lot of, the technical journalism term is asses and elbows, going on with every edition of the paper. It's a lot better now than it was. Yeah, we've still got copy editors, and now we're actually able to give them the stuff in time for them to go over it carefully. And we're back to reading proofs on all the pages. So it's smoothed out now that we understand the software.
Last question, I'm just curious, how many more papers are being sold at retail outlets now than were? And the price just jumped from 75 cents to $1.
And I don't know.
But I'm just wondering, because I know for a while, I usually stop at a gas station on the way to work, and they used to only get 5 a day.
Mhm.
And when that happened,
Right.
they were like getting mad customers. Now they get more.
Right.
But I was just kind of curious if that's showing the people anything about how many people still want the paper. whether they
I'm
like it or
guessing
not.
that single copy sales are a lot higher than they were, but that's a function of not having it on delivery every day. People who really want the paper find ways to go get it, which is a good thing. But I don't have figures. I have no idea what the
Just wondered
sales
if it
stats
was
are.
brought up.
Yeah, I don't know. That's people who I don't have anything to do with deal with that.
What all organizations are involved with NEOMG? What besides?
Well, I mean,
Media Group?
it's Cleveland.com, but there is a segment of Plain Dealer employees who work for the Plain Dealer and write for the Plain Dealer, but their stuff gets sent first to Cleveland.com because that's the order we want to do it in. We want to get it up online first, and then we'll use parts or all of it in the paper next. So it's a loose combination of two entities. And then the Sun papers have been absorbed into that also, but that's no longer a separate.
Is there anything else involved with Media Group besides Plain Dealer?
No, but I mean, Cleveland.com has partners that are other kinds of media. The TV stations have a loose affiliation. And it's what we're seeing is really the beginning of this aggregation of media that's only going to continue.
That's
Where everybody does everything. So you've got TV websites that have pretty decent news writing on them from time to time, which they never had before. They've really upgraded there, and we've got tons of video on our site. So everybody is doing all the stuff and trying to be all things to all people, and that will continue. That's going to be what happens from here on in. Yes, and the best ones will be the ones that survive and make money, and others will undoubtedly fall by the wayside, which is good. It's the way it should be. You know, the best people, the best competitors should survive. Yeah.
I was just wondering, the art sections on Sunday, you know, did you quit doing with New York Times bestsellers, you know, on there? It's not,
I don't know.
it's not there.
Well, then we must have.
I missed that, you know?
I don't know. I have zero to do with the art section. I'm really immersed in the
Yeah, I
opinion
know that.
stuff, and I know a little bit about the news.
I'm
And
just asking.
I overhear some stuff about sports.
Okay.
I sit there with the features people all day, every day, and do my work at the same time they're doing theirs, but that doesn't make me talk.
Why did they take the phone numbers out for the columnists?
We all got new phones.
So then they disappeared?
I sure don't want mine in there. I'll tell you. Happiest day of my life.
They never had a lot of nice.
No, it was, I mean,
We all
I
enjoyed
would,
that.
yeah, I know. And some people enjoyed it way too much and abused the privilege. Not you.
Okay.
Yeah, they gave us phones and they said, if you would like to get rid of your own phone and just use this one, we encourage that. If I did, I'd drop that old phone like a bad habit. It was a better doorstop than a phone anyway. They took away all the landlines except for maybe 2 in the office, and those are used only in the case of dire emergency. You have to call the Kremlin or something like that. And so basically everybody's work phone is now everybody's personal phone. And as much as I like you, I don't want you calling me at 2 in the morning on my personal phone.
Right.
So I think that the phone numbers are never coming back.
No, I don't think they should.
If they tell me to put mine in, I'll say, no, this will not happen. Or you can give me another phone. It's just for that,
Oh.
which I'll turn off.
Which will never be on. It'll never be on.
Something, yeah.
Are you going to expand political coverage as we're getting into campaign season here?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's a question that I don't have a lot of sway on, because all of that local stuff is generated by folks on the other side of the river.
How about just making more room in the forum section for
Yeah,
opinion?
that can easily be done, but I've got to have the material to justify it.
Oh, we can provide that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
That's no problem.
Yes, those considerations will have to be made down the road a little bit.
Now, most of the syndicated columnists have their base in the print world today. Have you looked at or considered syndicated bloggers? Some people that have wide syndication but are all electronic.
No, I have not. I prefer to go the traditional route at this point. There are some people, though.
Some of them have pretty broad distribution now.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, there are some people who work for certain publications who are bloggers there, but it comes to us as a print product. I've gotten to where if I need just something that's short and interesting, there's a fellow named Joshua Keating, who I had never heard of before I started this job. and he works for Foreign Policy Magazine, and he's a blogger, and he writes short, and it's pretty interesting stuff. Just
Short-
kind of
short is good.
Off the beaten track stuff, and it's exactly what I need a lot of the time. So I guess, sort of through the back door, that is what you're talking about. Here's a guy who only blogs, but his publication turns it into something that's on the wire. And for me, that's the key. You know, it's got to be easily accessible. It's something that that we're paying for, that I can use, and he fits that bill. As other people come along, who are bloggers, if they come in that form, I know that they're bloggers, but they don't really look like bloggers by the time it gets to me. It looks like just one other piece of syndicated writing that comes off the wire. So I may be using bloggers that I don't know are bloggers, and that may prove more true in the future.
Yeah, I just wonder if
it really doesn't matter. That's fine.
Now, I know that, we see articles from New York Times and, still from AP out there. When Tucker Carlson set up his site, The Daily Caller, his intent was to become a content generator for electronic forms.
Right.
Are you considering sometimes using people like that, content generation organizations that are not rooted in the old, AP,
Not at this point. I think the rules, the Wild West hasn't really been settled yet. And the rules are unclear enough that you don't want to leap into using somebody and then find out later that that wasn't what they intended. And it's very hard to get, it's hard to talk to those people in the moment.
Yeah, but I wonder. I don't know Tucker Carlson personally, but the intent was to set up the same kind of structure in terms of the same kind of rules and regulations that you have in terms of sourcing and validating and stuff like that. They may not have the same constraints as your current style book or something like that.
No, that wouldn't be the concern. The concern would be, are we allowed to use it?
Yeah.
And would they come back and say, oh, you owe us $200 for that piece? That's not a position you want to find yourself in on the blind side. They have not, to my knowledge, really done anything to market themselves to daily newspapers. They are very much an electronic-based outfit, and most of those outfits are. I think their focus is there, and they're trying to use aggregators. They're trying to use search engine optimization, that sort of thing, to drive people to their own site.
Well, and they provide content for other websites.
Population. What's that?
They provide content for other websites today.
Yeah, but I think it's coming back to them now. Yeah. They want those clicks to show up in their domain.
Well, that's right. It does come back to them.
Right.
You're right.
So I can't help them with that. And I think they look at the newspaper and say, well, it would be good maybe as a loss leader to get the word out, to have people look for us online, but unless the newspaper is willing to go the extra mile and say, here's where you'll find these people online, don't read our product, read theirs, essentially, then they're probably not going to have much luck in the print medium, or waste a lot of time with it. Yeah.
It occurs to me that someone who has the ability to sort of eliminate words and lines and sort of change content a little bit to make things fit in would have the opportunity to really improve the impact and the content of some of those editorials. And, not that many people have verbs anymore anyway. So, I think there's an opportunity here, to have an impact.
I think the word you're looking for is sabotage.
Maybe you find out who your boss was.
Influence.
Undoubtedly, that would do the trick. I would then find out who my boss was. You could do, the idea is to do some cosmetic things that don't affect the meaning, but make everything fit okay. You cannot have one product online or one editorial online that says one thing and something that says...
Think of it as a line item veto.
No. Thank you for the suggestion, but no. Like I said, I got to make this stretch another 9 years or so I don't want to do anything too
Well, that final week.
All bets are off the last week. When I know I'm going, who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
No, that would be wrong, so I wouldn't do it. Wouldn't be prudent.
I heard that one.
Yeah, remember him?
Oh, yeah. historically, I would say we all look at the plain dealer as being sort of not necessarily down the middle of the road. Okay?
I know where you're at it, yeah.
Yeah, well, is there, any ability to balance content more than that? I mean, there's, well, things that'll stick in your mind are things like the editorial cartoons.
Right,
I mean, they're so far off to the left sometimes
yeah.
that, the bird is gonna start paying for the subscription, okay? I'm just saying, but,
The bird will start paying you to not put the paper on the bottom of the page.
quite possibly. I mean,
It won't stick.
is there any thought that that could, you can help be more balanced in any way, shape, or form than that it's not totally off the wall?
Well, there are different kinds of content. I mean, the cartoons are a special case. We have our own homegrown editorial cartoons from Jeff Darcy, and he feels how he feels about
And
it.
he lives over there.
He does, yes, he is on the other side of the fence. So that's a special case. You're not going to find a paper other than the Washington Post that's going to pay a whole stable of cartoonists to draw. So there's one, and he's going to be whoever he is and draw whatever he draws. So that's a given. He does not draw 2 days a week, and for those 2 days a week, we buy 3 syndicated cartoonists. One of them is a liberal, and 2 of them are, we buy 4. One of them is a liberal, and 3 of them are conservatives. And the conservatives get their due
Yeah.
most Saturdays and Mondays, but the liberal is Mike Lukovich, who I think is wrong about everything. He's the pictorial version of Paul Krugman. He's wrong about everything, but he's also really good, and he is funny at times. And there are things that I'll look and I'll just say, I just can't do that. Sorry, Mike, but no. But then I've got Ramirez, and Ramirez is just as funny on the other side of the fence and does a really good job. And we also buy Chip Bach, who used to work for the Beacon Journal, and Lisa Benson, who's a Washington Post cartoonist, who's also on the conservative side. So, there's balance when I can do balance. If we do a full page of cartoons, this is just a nice anecdote to show you cannot win no matter what you do. Every month or so, we'll do a full page of the non-Darcy syndicated stuff that we buy that we haven't been able to use because we only get 2 shots out of the week. So I'll do 7 cartoons on the back page of the section. 6 of them, the last time I did this, were Ramirez, Bach, and Benson. There was one really good Lukovich, and I thought, okay, fair's fair. I've got to run one of them as the centerpiece cartoon. I'll give that to Lukovich. And we'll run 6 other ones that all come at this stuff from a conservative angle, and a lot of them were drawn about the same issues. So you've got a nice interplay. And, I had somebody call me, I'm canceling my subscription. Why'd you make the Lukovich cartoon so big? It's like, there were 6 other ones, Did you look at the rest of the page? Did you, do you need to get your eyeglasses prescription adjusted that you couldn't see the 6 little ones around? Actually, I was nicer than that, but it was frustrating. It's like, what are you going to do with people? Nobody's ever happy. It's like managing a baseball team. Everybody can do a better job than the guy who's actually doing it, which often is true, but not in my
today.
case. Yeah, right, not today. Now, on the word side, it's a different problem.
Right.
Journalism, as I have often said, and have probably said to this group before, does not draw conservatives anymore. Pretty much post-Watergate, conservatives were beginning to find just about anything else to do with their working lives rather than write for newspapers. It wasn't that they were unwelcome. It was more that they just looked at it and said, that's probably not for me.
No, they were too
I am
smart.
not
They wanted
here-
something that paid better.
Well, yeah, and maybe they wanted to make a better buck. But if you look at journalists today, and this is still true of kids coming out of journalism school, they're all stuck in that post-Watergate rut. They all want to save the world. They all want to root out corruption when a certain political party is involved. and not when the other one is. And they want to do right. They want to set things right. And that, that's not what journalism is for. Journalism is supposed to be reporting the news. Just give me the facts, what happened, save the opinion for the opinion page. And as lines get progressively more blurred, no pun intended, thank you, and you see more and more loaded words getting into stories that are supposed to be news stories, more and more analysis getting into stories that are supposed to be news stories. Well, that feeds on itself, and you draw a certain kind of person into the profession. So that's my long way of saying to you, there really isn't anyone left in good-sized newsrooms to provide the kind of balance that you're looking for. It's remarkably, newspaper staffs are remarkably synoptic in how they see the world. They all see the same problems, and they all see the same solutions. And it's absolutely maddening to work in, because you can't get past that. If you throw another idea on the table, it's like, well, that can't work.
To maybe only do that twice in an article instead of 15 times? Or,
Well, and I mean, that you also have the phenomenon that comes up and is nailed by our readers every time that it happens, where you will have a member of a certain political party caught in some, with his tail caught in a crack, and that political party is never mentioned in the story. It just somehow escapes notice entirely.
right.
And if it's a member of the other political party, it's in the first or second paragraph. Right. I can't help you.
Damn.
That's how the reporter wrote the story, and the editor had no problem with it, and that's how it landed in the paper. Is it right? No, I don't think it is. Is it good journalism? No. Is it a credibility destroyer? Yes. And it causes lots of people, like the folks in this room, to throw up their hands and say, well, I can't get balanced news out of this publication, so I'm going to quit it. Which is not good for anybody, but somehow the people in the newsroom feel good about what they've done. It's a very alien thing. I got into journalism because I fell into journalism more or less by accident. I was going to starve to death right after college was over because I had majored in political science, as you mentioned, which I thought I was going to teach political science for a living when I went to college. Then I got into a political science department and realized I couldn't get out fast enough. But I needed something to do, and writing was something I'd always been able to do. So I thought, okay, well, where could I write for a living? How about a newspaper? I was a babe in the woods. I had no idea what this was. I thought journalism was about writing. I didn't know it was about saving the world. So I went in with all the wrong ideas. I managed to survive anyway. But I've always felt a little bit like a fish out of water because I did not have the same aspirations that so many of my colleagues had. But newsrooms are just rife with save the world journalists, and it's been true ever since I broke into the profession. And it's just been, it's been an education the whole time. I don't see it getting any better. What may get better is when newspapers, as newspapers are sort of going away, we're getting out of the Gutenberg bubble here. You're seeing other media, mostly online, a lot of the blogosphere, some of the electronic stuff. Glenn Beck has the Blaze and all of that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. These are drawing people who want to save the world the other way, at least. I'm not sure they still want to be good journalists, but they want to influence things in the other direction. Maybe we hit a balance 100 years down the road. I don't know. If we hit it, I think all of us in this room will probably be long dead by the time we do. How's that for optimism? It's not like Inauguration Day 2012 when I cheered you up, right? Not sure what I said then either. Yeah.
Speaking of us all being gone, how in the world do they get all those people to die only on Wednesdays and Sundays?
It's been a closely coordinated effort. It has not been easy. We've actually had to have some people actively killed. It was upsetting to some of the staff, but when you gotta, if you're going to make an omelet, right, you got to break some eggs. That's the most off-the-wall question I've ever had. Thank you. I can't wait till this is up on YouTube. Yeah.
When you selected which days not to print, did that have anything to do with the Browns?
Well, I do know that New Orleans, which went down this road before we did, had the same decision to make. You know, the Saints are, some people say, an even better team than the Browns are. Not sure it's true, but I've heard. And so they had to decide what they were going to do about that, and they chose the same, I think they chose the same publication schedule, or we chose the same publication schedule that they did. It's not ideal, you know, what can I tell you? But, you know, we're hoping, I think, that 2 hours after the game is over, you're online reading Mary Kay Cabot's stuff, you know, in-depth reporting on the game that just ended. If you look at it that way, I don't know, advantage or disadvantage?
I was thinking.
Cuts both ways.
Sort of, you know, with the obituary question.
About the Browns?
Monthly coverage basically is an obituary.
It's a fair point. Maybe that will all change this year.
I hope.
Every year we hope.
No, probably not. Let's not kid ourselves. Yes.
I have a journalist in the family, and so she was editor of Erie paper, you know. And with that in mind, some of the advertisement was based on the articles and stuff like that, but they had to close out this one section because there wasn't enough advertisement there. And so she's conservative too, from Northwestern.
Okay. Well, she's had a hard road then.
So with that, so it's interesting, you know. She writes for the paper on restaurant reviews and stuff
Okay.
like that, and everything else there. So gets her articles in, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
It's probably a little easier
you know.
for a restaurant reviewer to be a conservative
Yeah,
than most.
yeah.
But I guarantee you that I don't know her, never met her, but I'll bet there are times when she grits her teeth, you know, sitting in the newsroom and just listening to what goes on. It'll drive you a little bit crazy. Yes?
Is the crossword puzzle available interactively anywhere?
I want to say yes. I know they were working on it at the beginning, and we heard some things about it at the beginning, and then I quit hearing about it, so
Would that be through cleveland.com?
should be. Yeah, I would look there for sure. I haven't heard anything about that in months, and that would lead me to think they'd resolved it. They were having trouble with it early on, and I think, I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I look for it there.
Are authors like Norm Potterance and Star Parker syndicated?
Yes. Well, Star Parker is for sure. We see some of her stuff. I've got rights to use it. It rarely comes across. I haven't seen her. Maybe she's working on a book or something, because I haven't seen
She
anything.
was here in town last weekend
Really?
for 2 days.
I haven't seen anything from her in
At
quite a long time.
symposium.
What about
At
Right
Bring
to
America
life,
Back to
they,
Life.
Okay. She might be riding a circuit or working on a book or both right now. But I haven't seen her in a long time, but when she shows up, I do take a look to see what she's writing about.
Yes, Kevin, 2 issues that are prominent in my mind, and I read the paper pretty much every day with a pen and pencil and scissors, so that the things I tell people I can back up. But I would say regionalism has taken over a good portion of what's going on in this city. Tax dollars flowing from EPA, ODOT, all of it.
Right.
You can't stop seeing how our taxes are being spent on someone else's plans for our life. I don't think it can escape anyone here. That regionalism, sustainable growth and development are the whole thing that's happening today, which we have talked about one other time.
Yeah.
And now NEO-SCC has come out with their vision. They finished their job 3 years in the making. It is a sad commentary on where they want us to go in the future, if I've ever seen anything. And it takes out all our municipalities, and everything that we hold dear. Our liberties are going down the drain, and no one's talking about it. And the same thing is true of Common Core. Exactly. So those two issues should be somewhere in there, and aren't. They really aren't.
Well, the editorial board writes occasionally about both of those. They think regionalism is great and the Common Core is the bee's knees. So it is out there. This is sort of the,
Very little of it.
the sublime egghead dream du jour. And
And it's an actuality.
but I'm not sure it is. I don't think people are, I think Common Core is going to collapse like every educational boondoggle collapses. And, yes, it will take us a little deeper in the hole, and we will have kids who know less coming out of that. But I think we'll have parents who are really angry, and that's a good thing.
By that time, millions and billions in books and everything have been printed. Our kids are going to psychologists. They're sick, they don't want to go to school. I've been to plenty of meetings in Aurora and
Right.
places where people are crying about it. It is a federal
But I
takeover. It's
think that's-
Obama core.
But I think that's a good sign. Obama didn't have that much to do with it. That's not one you
Federal
can really lay at
government
his
did,
doorstep. This
Without
started-
us knowing about it.
That started under Bush, and I'm sorry, it's true.
It did.
And it's picked up momentum now. It's going to fall apart because those things always do. And then Columbia Teachers College will come up with the next boondoggle, and they'll sell that. There's no end to these things. It just comes in waves, and it happens over and over.
This is a federal.
And as far as the
case.
regionalism, I have a lot of trouble believing that that's going anywhere either.
It's every day in the paper.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
all
but
like-
There are some
But it's because
township trustees who voted against it, against participating in it.
Again and again and again.
And they're becoming more and more sort of people we know are going out and educating them. That doesn't get in the paper either, of course, but
Like
not
to get
everyone,
it in the
not
paper.
all the municipalities are coming down in favor, but once they hear what's wrong with it, you won't find it in the paper.
no, and I don't think the battle's going to be won or lost.
I hear about it when she gets home.
Ah. I think the regionalism thing is not, it's just going to be too hard for them to do. They're not going to be able to pull that off because too many people are going to say, well, that's a stupid idea.
But they're doing it. They're doing it every
getting
day.
federal money.
Every day they're doing it.
They're
I
wasting a
can
lot of
pull out-
money. They're
Every
talking a lot
newspaper
about
talks
it.
about it every day. What,
And
how
you
the
know why?
money is
Because they
being
can't
funneled.
sell it, no matter how much money they put
The
into it.
money's being funneled into it. as
Well, the
we
federal
all know.
grant is ending, and NEOSCC is going to all sorts of entities trying to get grants. And the people who are against the Agenda 21 system are going to those same entities and asking them not to do it. So there's a battle.
There's
So
The
everybody has to get involved.
implementation is
Right.
happening now.
So
It's
I-
not, the red flags go up every day
How
for
do you
more of
decide
it.
what the people care about?
When I'm picking content, I try to package things. I try to look for themes in the opinion writing that comes in. And I try to build pages based on themes.
You mean like the crazy people that are at Cleveland.com?
No, I'm talking about the syndicated stuff.
That's just,
The crazy people are left to their own devices. We do a from the community page, at least on Sunday, and then maybe I'll get a couple of those in during the week. I don't know if anybody reads them. I don't particularly care. That is more along the lines of, look, folks, you can write for the blame dealer a little bit, you know.
Well,
So,
those
Can you
were-
give us an example of the theme that you've done?
um,
the courts. You guys will annihilate the courts and then you'll back off and then you'll go to domestic court.
no, that's an editorial. And that's okay. It's all right. Judges are all right.
We love it.
I really can't speak for how they decide what they do editorials on over across on the other side, because I pretty much pried myself loose from that. I do notice that we do a lot of things, we repeat a lot. Because one thing I do have to do is I have to figure out what the cover art for the main editorial that's going to go on the cover of the home delivery edition of the forum page is going to be. And I keep having to order the same things over and over again. Or say to the illustrators, please come up with yet another idea on the Juvenile Justice Center, because we're writing our 5th one about that. So there's how they get on campaigns, which is really what they are. I don't know. They just decide something is important, off they go, hammer and tong, and they'll write about it 10 times a year. So that's their call. What I'm trying to do, usually with the syndicate, or always with the syndicated stuff, is if there's a hot topic, I'm going to ride it. I'm going to make sure that I get 3 pieces on page 5, which is my main syndicated display page, Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm going to try and get 3 pieces on that topic, and if with any luck, from at least 2 different points of view. So if I can get, Krauthammer usually goes off the reservation, but if I can get Will and Gerson, for example, writing on something, and then Gail Collins or Krugman or Harold Meyerson or somebody like that writing from the other side, good. Then I've got my page laid out. And you'll have 3 different headlines that are basically on the same subject, but tell you different parts of the story. If you read that page, you know a hell of a lot about whatever that issue is.
But how do you decide what's hot? That was really,
The wires really tell you. It's not hard. You don't have to sit there and decide. I don't go well, once in a great while I'll go searching for something because I got 2 out of 3 pieces that I want. But most of the time it's not a search. It comes to me. It's what are the big names writing about, and how are they writing about it? And then I'm gonna choose the most divergent points of view that I can find. And then, try to really get 360 degrees around the subject on that. And I can't do that every day, obviously. Ukraine right now is just a wealth of, everybody's got an opinion, including me tomorrow. Don't listen. And so that's easy, that's low-hanging fruit. When you get into some of the economic stuff, I look at it and I think, this may bore some people, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's the beauty of having more pages now. I can take a risk that somebody out there, their eyes are going to glaze over. But somebody else out there is going to read it and learn something from it. So that's a really nice point of flexibility to have. And even though I may not be particularly gung-ho about the subject, I force myself to use it because I think that there is an audience out there for that. And that is total guesswork. That's just me trying to provide content that I think somebody's going to like or somebody's going to find interesting. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I don't have a lot of market research to back me up on any of that. I'm flying by the seat of my pants a lot of days, but I've been doing this for 30 years and I've been going out and talking to groups like this for 20 years, so I like to think I have some idea of what people want to read or what's going to interest them. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Yeah.
How do you feel the new setup has affected investigative reporting? Has it gotten better, or is it worse?
Investigative reporting is always a function of the personalities that you have assigned to it. It's not a structural thing. You can damage it by restructuring. You can impede it. I don't think that's what has happened here. The problem with just talking about investigative reporting as a classification is, at any given time, there aren't very many people at any newspaper, certainly our size, that can just do it. We've always had 2 or 3, since in all the years that I've been here. We still have 2 or 3 who are good at it and are patient enough to follow up and do what has to be done. So far, I don't think that the new structure has damaged it. It could down the road. But I think the folks over at NEOMG are sensitive enough to the fact that that's something that they want to keep doing, that they're not going to take Rachel DeSalle, who I think is the best we've got right now as far as that, and make her write 6 posts a day just to generate traffic on the web. I want to think they're going to give her the time and the latitude to go and do some things that are really good investigative things, because
Yeah,
that's where the talent
they-
lies, right?
They did a great job on the county corruption, but that seems to be the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't stop.
Yeah, yeah, well, the reporting staff did a good job on that. Frankly, the U.S. Attorney's Office did
A lot.
a lot of the work for us.
Well,
you
they
know.
did, yeah.
But we devoted the space and the time to it that needed to be devoted, and from that, and we wrote well. From that point of view, I think we did a really good job. We do some things that I think are arguably better because they're staff generated. They're not in an indictment. They're not in an information. They're not in a court paper. They're shoe leather journalism that we're still able to do. We have some people who can still do that, and I think they've been given the latitude to make that happen, which is important.
Any good news for us politically? Any good news, do you think?
Well, yeah, yes and no. Yeah, a couple of us were talking before we started here, and the Republican proclivity for snatching defeat from the jaws of victory came up. I think the thing that Republicans have to watch this year, to be concerned about, they're going to do really well in the midterm elections. That's just a given. It's going to happen. I think they'll take the Senate, and I think they'll pick up seats in the House. They'll improve their margin in the House, which is kind of neither here nor there because the Senate's where the action is. What they do, that's the easy part. The hard part is, what do they do with the Senate once they get it? Because there's a lot they can't do. The fellow in the White House will keep things from happening. Ramesh Ponnuru had a piece out on the wire today or yesterday, I don't remember which. And his main thrust was that if the Republicans use this election cycle to sit on their hands rather than to propose specific things that they would do better, they're going to lose their momentum. Even if they win the election, they're going to lose their momentum. And I think what we can't afford to see is a Republican Senate that puts its head down and sits still and just has numbers. Yeah, whatever they do that's interesting is going to get vetoed. That's okay, build a record. But that means that the Republican Party at the national level is going to have to stand for something. It's going to have some goals and ideals that it actively pursues.
Get the ideas out there.
Really, really hard for Republicans, especially the ones who are incumbents right now, to do. That is not their MO. They are much happier not being in power and being able to be the out party. And frankly, that's easier. And that role is going to pass to the Democrats, and they're very, very good at playing it. They're much better at playing it. They're better at playing either role than the Republicans are. So what worries me, I think, even as I see the Republicans poised to do very well in the midterm, is that we're not going to see that critical mass of real activist conservative Republicans come to be, and that we're still going to have sort of the Mitch McConnell wing of the party in control of the reins. It would be great to be able to elect enough true conservative, especially fiscal conservative people to the Senate where you could see a leadership change, but that is a long shot.
I think they're trying.
I think they're trying, and I think they're getting some resistance from the old guard of the party too.
Yeah.
This is a watershed moment, and everybody sees that it is. So the Republican Party is at a fork in the road. Are they gonna keep bearing slightly left as they have, or are they going to take that right turn that they need to take to be a party that's a choice rather than an echo, as a famous politician once
But
said?
it's the media that destroys everything that they do, good, bad.
Can't worry about the media.
No.
That's, just can't be a consideration. I mean, a political party has to build a record and it has to build a resume, and it does that on its own. How it's interpreted by people outside the party is really not an issue. And there's been a lot of writing lately about the millennials generation that's been really interesting, based on some studies. There's been a Pew study that just came out a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago. It said some very interesting things about millennials just as individuals, because that's what they are, apparently. They're not joiners, they're not particularly cause-oriented. That's why the environmentalist movement is sort of stalling right now. This is their usual recruitment, shock troop people, the young folks coming in, in and just out of college. They're not playing that game anymore. They're not particularly interested in being a part of movements. This could be something Republicans could use to their advantage. Look, we know you may not be with us for the long haul, but we also know you've got college debt out the yin-yang that you can't pay. We know you don't like this idea that you're getting soaked for Obamacare, where you're going to pay all the costs and get very few of the benefits. We know you don't like the look of your world fiscally right now, and you know what? We also know you're not fiscally stupid. This is not an unsophisticated generation when it comes to looking at the checkbook and seeing what's there. And that's where Republicans live. Republicans are the fiscal party. I think if you can show these people that it's worth linking up with the conservative side of politics to get some things done that are good for you personally, that's right in the millennials' wheelhouse, apparently. And that wouldn't be that tough a message to go with. And the typical Democratic message, the liberal message that has worked for year after year and decade after decade is, you got to do something nice for the world. These guys don't see it that way. There may be some good stuff here. You're not going to get them to sign on for a campaign against gay marriage. They don't care. But they do care about the pocketbook issues. Lord knows we've got those. So, to me, there are opportunities to be mined if Republicans have the smarts to do them. If they listen to the same Washington-based political consultants that they've been listening to for the last 20 years, they won't do it. Because those folks are so far out of touch, they might as well be in Moscow rather than Washington. And, but if you get some people who actually come out of the grassroots and don't forget where they came from, then the Republicans could be looking at making some substantive, worthwhile changes in the U.S. polity, and that would be a great thing. And, no party is more adept at blowing it than the Republicans are, so who knows what we're going to do. The opportunity is there. Whether they can walk through that door is the other question.
I think you have some nice younger people.
I agree. But, we've got to get, when I say we, I mean you, we've got to get past the notion that just having control of the chambers of Congress is enough, or even having control of both chambers of Congress and the presidency is enough. Because once you're there, you got to do something, and then you got to have the courage of your convictions to make that happen. We have just not seen much courage since '94. '94, we thought, well, we're going to do a bunch of great things, and we did a few great things, and then we pulled in our horns, and we pretty much haven't been seen since. So, if it's that again, then we've got a while to wait. But if they decide to be courageous, and they take the slings and arrows that they're going to get for being courageous and just keep on going, then I think there's hope. I
Do
really
you
do.
think values voters sent, a good message, just not gay marriage, but values vote? Is that a...
To other values voters, yes.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good message to other values voters. I don't think you can hang your hat on that anymore, much as it pains me, because I'm as much a values voter as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, I think there are better messages. I think there are messages that people across generational lines are a lot more in touch with than traditional values. I don't think you go away from traditional values. I think you sell the product that plays to your strength. And that's not what that is. I think once you get in office, then you do what you can do. But you better darn sure do what you said you would do on the fiscal side too. You've got to win.
Those were the
You got to win first.
You've got priorities, but
Right.
it does help to have a values.
It helps with
stand.
some people.
Yeah.
Right now, the electorate is so fragmented on the conservative side. Lots of people are conservative for very different reasons. There is no reason why there should be a huge disconnect between conservatives and libertarians who look at the current administration. They should be seeing exactly the same things. The idea has to be for the Republicans not to drive away people who are socially more liberal than they are. Let's all focus on the things that we can agree on right now, and then we'll see. If we get in office, we'll see what happens, what we can do. And then you're going by the votes. There's a lot of stuff that's so far down the road it's never going to be reversed, and that's just the way it is. But there are some things that we can fix, and we have to be about fixing.
How do you think libertarianism will come into play this time? How
Well,
do you see it?
libertarians are awfully hard to predict. It depends on, at the national level, it depends on the candidates that the Republicans field. If libertarians feel like they can get along with somebody, I think they'll jump to the Republicans in a heartbeat because they see the debt problem and they see, some of them will see the defense problems. Not all. Libertarians are, it's like herding cats. Yeah, but there are plenty of things that libertarians are sincerely worried about that go way across the political spectrum. If you concentrate on the fiscal side, you're going to draw more of them in than you'll lose. And that's politics, right? You're trying to get a few more votes with what you stand for than the votes that you lose for what you stand for. But you got to stand for something. Republicans have been challenged in that area for many years. Jack.
Who would you like the Republican nominee for president to be, and who do you actually think it will be?
I would. Okay.
Yeah.
That's tough. Well, let me answer it this way. The politician that I see at the national level who I think would make the best president, whether now or 4 to 8 years down the road, is Ted Cruz.
Yes. Yes.
I think Ted Cruz thinks like I do, so I like him. That's really what it comes down to. And it's pretty much every voter's choice. Who thinks like I do, that's who I'm going to vote for. But I got to say that there are plenty of Republicans who at some point, by doing something or saying something, has disappointed the rank and file of the party. I think we need to get away from this idea that somebody has to be perfect. So if it's not Ted Cruz, and if it is Paul Ryan, or if it is Scott Walker really hasn't disappointed me.
He hasn't disappointed.
No, he's a good.
We're on the same page. How about the both of them?
And he's a governor, which helps. It's a hell of a lot easier to run from a governorship than from a House seat. But, Paul Ryan's in play right now, so he's one that I thought of. Paul Ryan, I think, has made some bonehead moves. But, you know what? He's going to be better than the alternative. And I think we're in a position, really, of we've got so much ground to recover and so far to work our way back to just, being able to see the Constitution from where we are, that, if it's incremental, it's incremental. You take what you can get, you go as far as you can go, you get as far down the path as the guy will take you, and then you see who's coming along behind him. So, I don't know if Ted Cruz is baked yet, but Scott Walker is, that's a good name.
How about Rand Paul? all the young people were with his old father.
Yeah. Yeah,
And they
there's a
didn't
bit of a
vote.
dynasty there, you know.
You know, I think we could pull a lot of those college and young people because he's on the libertarian side.
He is on the libertarian side. I think
What,
he's,
for president?
It's about 40,000 or something.
So he's
and therein lies the problem for me.
They don't have one.
I'm just not sure that he sees the world quite as it is. He's, you know, Rand Paul is kind of like the flip side of Obama almost when it comes to foreign policy.
Yeah.
And I think that's worrisome. I'm not saying he doesn't have his good points. He says a lot of things that make sense to me. But the reason why, there are good reasons why I don't really think of myself as a libertarian, and he embodies a couple of them.
Yeah.
So,
well, like I say, a lot of young people
Yeah.
agree with him.
Yeah.
on foreign policy.
yeah.
Because they've learned it.
And this is one of those cases where I don't think you can, you know, like Whitney Houston saying, let the children lead the way, because they're inexperienced and they, like him, want to see the world in a way that it really isn't quite. And that can, I mean, in a chief executive, that's pretty dangerous.
As we're seeing as
What about him on a ticket, though? To get the vote?
Yeah.
I don't think that.
I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think anybody who's a traditional conservative is going to put him on.
Gonna put him on, yeah.
Right. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Think we can get midterms?
I tell you what.
Just shoot me now.
He would have been such a
He
good
would have
president.
been.
Well, he would have been a hell of a lot better than what we've got on there, no question.
What was wrong with him?
Following
He
his
was-
advisors told him to do it.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of it. And I don't know that his heart was ever really in classic conservative mode anyway. He was a northeastern liberal governor. I mean, he's more liberal than most Republicans would be. Not sure that he was ever really cast well for the role.
I'd like to thank Kevin for being here tonight. Thank you.